Now, away from the scenes on the terraces, this has been the image of the weekend. A blooded Paul Ince, the first black player to captain England. He said it was the proudest moment of his life. But elsewhere, there's been a different picture of black and Asian achievement in Britain. The army launches an action plan today after they and the civil service were criticised for having fewer than 1% of their staff from the ethnic minorities. All this against the background of a controversial speech on multiculturalism by Lord Tebbit. Well,
multiculturalism is a divisive force. One can't uphold two sets of ethics or be loyal to two nations, any more than a man can have two masters.
Well, was that alarmist, or did Lord Tebbit have a point? Peter Hitchin, you're a columnist, and I know you wrote in your column that you thought he did have a point.
Yes, because the important thing about people is not whether they're black or Asian, but whether they're British. And it doesn't matter what race you are, and in any civilised society it shouldn't matter what race you are, but it matters immensely whether you give your loyalty to the country in which you have decided to live. People have come here because it is a country where justice and freedom and the rule of law exist. And as a result, they should, when they come here, become part of that long tradition of justice and liberty, not stand apart from it. I think there are people who like to manipulate racial minorities in this country to tell them to stay within ghettos so that they can use them as voting fodder.
Well,
that's what Norman Tebbit's concerned about.
The lady next to you is nodding.
Yes, I agree.
What do you think?
You're in England, you obey by their rules. I mean, your culture's got nothing to do with the rules.
Martin Afire, you play rugby for Great Britain. You're in England, you obey by their rules.
Well, I mean, everyone has to, obey the laws, otherwise you go to jail. But I do believe, this thing is about how you feel. As you say, I've played for Great Britain. I've shed blood on a number of occasions. Having said that, my parents are from Nigeria. They were born there. I have family there. So, obviously, I have to take on board some of that culture as well.
So you feel that it is possible to keep both cultures?
Well, that's what I am. I know what I am, and what anyone else thinks I am or should be is of no consequence.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's really important, one, is that if Norman Tebbit is, is what Britishness is, and I'm sure a lot of people who are even British don't want to be British.
What do you mean by that? That people who are British don't want to be British?
Well, I don't even understand what British culture is. I've been here, all my life, and no one's ever explained to me what is to be British. And also, Norman Tebbit is asking people to endorse British history. That would be like asking the Germans to accept their history. It's just fascism. And,
well,
that is the most complete. That is the most complete garbage.
What did Norman Tebbit mean when he talked about British?
Well, look, I want to take up a point the gentleman made. My great-grandfather came to this country 120 years ago from Germany. He was Jewish. If he'd stayed there, his descendants would be soap. He came here because he preferred the culture of this country, its liberty, its freedom, its lack of prejudice, to the culture of the country he left.
Well,
there is no comparison between
there are lots of people
British
down in the
and German
front
history.
who want to have their say. Yes, sir. What do you make of what Peter Hitchin's saying?
No matter what I do, I cannot change the colour of my skin. I am British. I was British. I always will be British.
But this isn't about colour or race,
is it?
It's about culture.
That's what I'm getting at. What Mr. Tebbit and his like should be looking at is the role we play in society. If it's productive, if it's part of this community, then we are British.
Right.
But that's what he's doing.
The ultimate point is
he never said a word about
Excuse me, sir,
race.
we'll come to you in just one moment.
The ultimate point is that when you actually look at people like the Scots and the Welsh, nobody actually asks them to prove they're British. That's because they're presumed already to be British, no matter what they wear or what they say, or whether they support Scotland or England in the rugby, for example. Right. This is all a question of us having to prove our loyalty as a result of our identity. Right. And that's the basic unfairness of Lord Tebbit's.
Well, gentlemen over there, what do you make of what this lady's just said?
They're not being asked to be... And this whole thing has been presented as if Lord Tebbit had made a speech about race. He didn't. What he actually wanted and said is that people should behave like you.
This is obviously how various people see it, though.
Yes. Well, that's their fault, not his.
What said was not that he made comments that were specifically racist, but that he was irresponsible and factually incorrect. He provided a bandwagon upon which other people, without having to say bigotry or racism, have jumped on. That's the main problem.
Can I just say that every time people try and make a positive step forward to integrate into this society, people like Norman Tebbit take us 10 steps back again with these remarks, which do nobody any good.
Is there anybody that disagrees with this? Excuse me, madam. I must come over here. Yes.
Ethnic minorities
Let me come over
also
here. Yes, sir.
take steps back, because there are few sections who take confrontational attitude, because they got to realise that they are in Britain and they are British citizens. They should not say that we make our own laws or our own parliament. You know, they must contribute to the society they live in.
What do you make of this point that lady in the front mentioned, that you're Scottish and you don't have to prove any loyalties?
No, you don't have to prove any loyalties. What I'm saying is that you can have your personal culture and let the society benefit from that culture.
Does anybody agree with that? You can have your personal culture. Gentleman at the back there with the moustache.
The Scots and the Welsh have voted for their own parliament, so what are they saying about what British culture is and what British society is? We can't even stick together as a nation and an island.
This is a fantastically tolerant country. When black American soldiers came here in the 1940s, they were amazed at the lack of prejudice towards their colour in this country.
Right, look,
it is almost unique in the world for its lack of prejudice. We have tried to maintain that lack of prejudice with a great deal of success. What is now happening, if you'll let me finish, what is now happening is that unscrupulous politicians are trying to create voting fodder out of racial minorities whom they wish to keep in ghettos for political reasons. That is dangerous to our racial tolerance.
The economist, or whoever you call yourself, we, for example, I come from Africa, we don't have any platform at all. They lump us with everything. Black. I'm naturally black, I'm not politically black. I'm an African, we have no platform.
Yes,
and
sir.
everybody benefited. So how can Tebbit say we should adopt? When you go to our continent, we never asked you to adopt.
Okay,
we treated you with respect. So it's you who should adopt. Accept us.
Excuse me, we must let other people
speak. My mother's
speak.
Irish and my father's Hungarian, but I'm British. I was born here and I feel British, and I don't get no. You know, I've got dark skin.
So you don't accept then what these people over here are saying?
I don't get no problems whatsoever. There's no culture in me. I get no problems whatsoever. And I've come from different races.
Excuse me, Norman Tebbit was making a serious point about he was distinguishing between a multiracial society and a multicultural society. In order to make a multiracial society work better, we have to have a degree of cultural coherence. Well, a degree of cultural coherence allows.
Well, the final point, Norman Tebbit also said that if multiculturalism wasn't addressed, then Britain could end up in a similar situation to that of Yugoslavia. What do people... Yes.
I just came back 6 weeks ago from Bosnia, and it's exactly the thing what Norman Tebbit was saying is what the Serbs were saying, and that's what caused the problem. So don't give me this crap anymore.
No, on the contrary, it's because Yugoslavia
I'm
afraid
that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you all very much indeed for taking part in this debate.